Most prominent thing.
Yeah. And one thing like I would also like to add, we have the third line of defense also, which is like independent testing, like which we say in other words, the audits. And every business, they have their audits, but specifically when we are talking the audits, in this part, in this discussion, I'm more focused toward the AML CFT audits. And there should be a auditor, maybe he's the financial auditor, but meanwhile he have some weightage also for the compliance audit also, that he needs to allocate some part of his audit, that he needs to ensure this thing, that compliance is properly embedded into the systems or not. Yeah, so this is the third line of defense. So whenever any loophole from the compliance or the first line of defense will come, so this auditor has the responsibility which will identify these gaps, and he needs to report to the board that these are the gaps and we need to remediate those gaps through the compliance and the first line of defense.
So is this internal auditors or they are external auditors? Is there any law related to that?
Yeah, as per the decree law, federal decree law, once in a year, annually, your program should be assessed by externally. So this is what we say agreed upon procedures must be conducted once in a year. Besides this, you also must have some internal audits. So internal audit will make their own charter. They want to conduct the audits onto the quarterly basis or semi-annually basis. So it depends according to the size and the complexity of the business, how they are going to conduct this independent testing.
Well, so the third line of defense is there to save you it can be somewhere saving time for the auditors if you have been already doing good with your compliance and the first line of defense.
Yeah, correct.
Well, this brings me to a very important point as well, which is related to how businesses can use compliance to mitigate their risk as well as grow together same time.
Yeah, actually, first of all, what we need to understand, financial crimes, what are the challenges we have in our region. So for that, if we see there is a guideline, and the guideline is coming from our National Risk Assessment Document, NRA, which we say, and in which the country has highlighted some predicate offense. So these offenses occurs first, then the other money laundering and the terrorist financing and proliferation financing, they come into the picture. So if we review at our end as a part of UAE, so we have also the challenge of the fraud. And sometimes we need to secure our organization from this challenge of fraud.
Criminal fraud.
Yeah, there are some internal frauds also, there are some external frauds. Obviously external frauds, there are a lot of types. But if you see some cyber crimes happen, sometimes some hackers involved, so those all covered into the external frauds. But we see the internal frauds which happen, which becomes very much risky, related to the accounting manipulation frauds within the firms, or maybe employees fraud.
So you mean to say there are some compliance frameworks, laws related to financial crimes which has internal fraud and external fraud.
Yeah.
And we are speaking currently about internal frauds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because why I'm focused towards the internal frauds, because mostly challenges which we face into our businesses coming from the internal frauds.
Well, there has been many cases where the business owners are putting so much of effort, so much of hard work, but in the end they see there has been fraud by someone in the company, and I feel that it creates a very non-trustable environment in which people already in the organization will not be able to trust the organization because they don't know from where exactly it originated, and it creates a very bad reputation again, which we spoke about.
Yeah, and internal frauds, actually it happens when we have the lack of controls in our businesses. Let's suppose we are not keeping dual controls. What we say, maker and checker concept is not there. So
if we can bifurcate an internal fraud, what are the things, how we can create processes to mitigate that, if we can?
Yeah, so first of all, we need to understand what are the challenges we have from the internal frauds. And first of all, like at the point of inception, if we see, so the employees which we are, the new hiring which we are doing, onboarding processes. So in the onboarding processes, this is the responsibility of our human resource department, including with the compliance, that they need to ensure 100% that there is not any background history of this employee, that he was ever involved any sort of illegitimate activity in his past. So therefore, like, yes, you can take some SOPs you need to follow in HR. And meanwhile, compliance also needs to check through the background screening of this particular employee that he was not ever involved any conviction or like any litigation into the past through their screening tools. So this is the way they assess it, that first of all, employees. Second, sometimes what happens, some employees, those who involved into the unresolved exceptions.
Before we more detail on the second point, I would really first of all proudly tell you that we as Dhanguard always follow the employee thing. We always check the protocols, we follow the law in terms of onboarding. Correct me if I'm mentioning wrong. We follow that you really need to have police clearance certificate. If you're new to the country, you have to have from your home country. If you're in Dubai, you have to have from UAE. Then we take the AECB report as well to check the credibility. So we have that internal check as well. It is coming from the HR perspective. Is there any other thing? Yeah, again, checking on the Google, doing the reference check. Is there any other thing which businesses need to check, or as Dhanguard I need to check before onboarding a client? Because what thought brings me, I would not say that I was trying to follow the law, that's why I started doing this. I started doing this because I cared for my customer. So this is again the same point where businesses need to think in terms of the growth of the business as well, not just following the law for the sake of following it. I followed it because I want my customers to be having a trustworthy advisor. If the person is already having a bad image and he has done something in past, I cannot expect him to deliver the service. I cannot expect him to be the same brand value which we want to follow in the market. So that's why we started following it. So yeah, is there anything which other than this we need to follow as a business?
I'm very happy in Dhanguard you are following so many things. That's the true spirit, with the documents you are collecting at the time of onboarding of new employees. So this is you are doing a great job. But meanwhile, I would also say one thing which at your end is maybe you can, for the future perspective, you can look into it, that time to time you need to conduct some scrutiny of your employees. Okay. And because if you will keep checking, because maybe today your employee is not in any blacklist. Correct. Or anywhere he is not highlighted there. But if you don't have any mechanism which you can also you can evaluate him. So so then obviously you will refrain from these type of.
What can be those parameters that after annual, it can be annual only. So we are doing this actually, we are doing a check again, which is when we are giving the appraisal, that is after 1 year. So we do some things, but what can be those things from your point of view?
Yes.
Which we
nowadays so many outsourced service providers are there which are providing their screening tools. Okay. In which you can check the complete, you can evaluate the complete history of your employees related to any criminality. Okay. So that can be a very useful tool. And second, sometimes meta searches also helps into the compliance. Let's suppose through the Google or maybe through Yahoo or Bing, you find out some adverse media news related to some of the team members. Because what happens, sometimes we ignore these facts and sometimes it becomes a big challenge for us.
And we can do, I think so, I'm better you can advise me on that. What we are doing is we are going back to the customers which are onboarded by that particular advisor, and we are taking a survey kind of thing where we ask about service, we ask about what was the process followed to onboard. So it's like a cross-checking of our SOPs being followed or no, and the customer service is that scale or no. In that one, if we see there was something which was not followed as per the company per se, and even if it is not company per se, but if it is something illegitimate, we can catch there.
Yeah, very true. And yes, obviously, in the part of customers, you need to conduct like ongoing due diligence. Like it's at the time of onboarding, what the KYC you have done. So regularly, like you need to have a plan that you can evaluate your customers also. And as far as we are talking about the employees, so obviously you have to establish these of controls, like in which you can have a complete monitoring of your employees. And one thing I would like to guide to the industry, that into the sensitive position, especially into the business, when we are having like executive roles, managers. So for that, like the part of the process, that the evaluation of the employees is very much important, because risk always comes when we give like
Powers.
yes powers, and which are having we give those powers like in which they can utilize, or they can like misuse those powers. So those challenges, to avoid those challenges. So
Well, in a very short history of Dangad, we don't have a big history. I have really realized that having a tainted person on a big position will always create a bad culture. People below that also will start to follow that, and eventually it will flow down to your company, and it is like something which will take down the whole company itself.
yeah, so this is like to mitigate the frauds, you need to have these type of controls like for your employees. And one thing like I would also like to highlight onto this, that there should be some mechanism like which we can like find out these type of challenges from those like who are aware of it, that this is happening. We need to provide some platform like or we can.
You mean the whistleblower?
Yeah, whistleblow. So whistleblower is a very important part. Like obviously, it creates a lot of impact to mitigate this type of risk which we are talking within the organization.
Well, I know you have very important things to discuss about whistleblower, but I really want that we discuss this in the end. I want all the businesses and the people, startups, entrepreneurs who are right now watching us or will follow through to go till this end of the video and follow for that whistleblower, because sometimes we feel like that there is nobody watching us out. Maybe the lawmakers, maybe the policy makers are somewhere sitting in a cozy office outside the city and there's no one. But whistleblower is something which is inside your office, next to your office, anywhere, and it can really take you down. So we will discuss this in the end. So we'll move on to the next thing. In internal fraud, other than employee, what is the next thing?
Yeah, internal fraud, sometimes it also happens that your employee, your management, sometimes management, they involve also into this.
So management fraud.
So management frauds also happens. So therefore, training for them is also very much important. That what is the importance of this and what are the regulatory consequences. By the way, like when we have started this discussion, I would also like to tell you this thing, that recently, some of the director, they also came under some regulatory scrutiny due to the non-compliance. So non-compliance is a big problem. So therefore, education is very much important.
I feel like, sir, there is a communication gap, an education gap, and the way we are talking, I would reconfirm from you, the compliance things which you are talking about, it's not that difficult to implement, but it is the will and the intention of the company that they want to implement or no. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's a very valuable point. It's a will. And it's the will in the sense that when we understand the importance
of it.
And obviously then our business life will become very easy. But if we think it's an liability or it's a unwanted responsibility, then we get stuck.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When I see the labor laws in this country, I really feel proud that I have a business here, because this country really creates a level playing field for everyone. So when we speak about compliances, it's creating a fairness in the market, that if somebody is doing wrong and growing his business, it will affect the people who are genuine. So it is very important for the lawmakers to do this, and at the same time, it is very important for the businesses to adopt this. Coming, if I were to discuss about the business as Dangad, when we speak about the compliances, it helps us to grow and it creates the culture in the internal company as well. That's why I always felt like to do this in terms of labor laws, in terms of RERA. We have a co-working space, as you are aware about. We are into a co-working space where we provide offices to our customers. In that one, we learned a lot of things about the RERA. When I read about it, when I learned about it, I really felt that lawmakers of UAE are doing an excellent job to protect the customers, investors, employees, businesses, everyone in the country.
Yeah, that's a great point, because if you see, like, if as I have seen into the Dhan Ghat, like you are totally compliant stringent firm, and so what happens, like it makes you like more attractive for the other businesses, because why, like the other businesses, those who want to engage with us, so they feel more comfort that the company is properly compliant stringent company. And without compliance, the four risks arise, like reputational risk arise, consultation risk arise, legal risk arise, operational risk arise. So these four risks arise, like if like company is not properly following the SOPs of the compliance. So that's very like interesting that I have seen in Dhan Ghat, like it's properly stringent and adhered with the laws and regulations. So it is giving like comfort to the all, like the other businesses, those who want to onboard through us. So that's great thing.
Well, I really felt together with CEO Jyoti that compliance is something, as you mentioned, these four risks, it took us years to bring this business to this level. And when we see these four risks are huge, it can take down the business in matter of days or months. So it's very important that you plan ahead before even the companies to that scale understand that these are very important factors. The 4 P's which you mentioned is, if you can reconfirm.
Yeah, reputational risk, operational risk, and legal risk, and also concentration risk.
What is concentration?
Concentration means like you are not only confined to only large scale. You like your business model is like this, that you are entertaining like to the every level, every stage of the business. You are targeting to the small, medium enterprises. You are targeting to the mid-size also, and you are also targeting like to the which are the giants of the industries also. So like it's because if you will confine to only a one area, so it's mean your risk will arise from that side. So therefore you are diversified. So that is like in your case, it is interesting for this one.
Okay, concentration risk.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on next, an internal fraud. Is there anything else other than this employment and management?
Some like internal frauds. I would also like to say, like sometimes some documents are manipulated.
Okay.
Yeah, within the firm also. So therefore, like there should be a manager like who needs to take care of all these things, that all documents are properly aligned, and especially like when you are engaging with your counterparts also. So you need to ensure like what the agreements, engagement letters you are giving. So it's properly evaluated. You have some quality control system in your organization or not. So that is from the business prosperity. It is very important that you need to align all these documents. Like because in the recent past, like there were some cases when some of the institutions, like some firms involved into like producing some fake documents, and they were like, they came under the regulatory scrutiny also. So therefore, this is a very sensitive thing, like which we need to take care of this, that within the firms, like we have the complete control, and we are checking like with the documents we are producing are properly like aligned with the regulatory expectations.